Welcome to Gaslit, the global politics of denial, black oppression. Today we're exploring how political gaslighting operates across the world, denying racism, distorting historical injustices, and manipulating narratives to delegitimize demands for equity. Gaslighting at its core is psychological manipulation. It makes victims doubt their reality. In politics, it manifests as denial of racism, reframing oppression as progress, or dismissing legitimate grievances as exaggeration. And its impact on black communities? Profound. It delegitimizes lived experiences, weakens collective action, and sustains unequal power structures. Let's begin in Africa. Political elites often downplay the enduring effects of colonialism and apartheid, framing current inequalities as mere economic mismanagement rather than structural racism. Calls for land redistribution or resource sovereignty are reframed as radical or destabilizing. Communities demanding justice are gaslit into believing their aspirations threaten national stability. Take South Africa. In debates over the National Health Insurance Bill, equity reforms were manipulated in public discourse, cast as impractical, even dangerous. This is gaslighting at scale, turning justice into a supposed threat. And beyond policy, language and identity are minimized. African languages remain underrepresented in governance and even in artificial intelligence systems, dismissed under the claim that global standards suffice. That erasure is cultural gaslighting. Now, let's cross to the Americas. In the United States, the election of President Barack Obama was heralded as proof that racism had ended. This post-racial myth gaslit black communities still facing police brutality and systemic inequality. Movements like Black Lives Matter are reframed as extremist or violent, denying the legitimacy of their grievances. Protest becomes delegitimized, silenced under the guise of protecting order. In Brazil, the myth of racial democracy claims racial harmony exists because of widespread racial mixing. But this narrative denies systemic racism, invalidates Afro-Brazilian experiences, and perpetuates inequality in education, employment, and justice systems. Afro-Brazilian traditions may be celebrated superficially, carnival, music, dance, but systemic exclusion persists. That's cultural gaslighting, celebrating the surface while denying the substance. And in Europe, the tactic takes another form. Governments often frame colonialism as civilizing missions or claim its harms are safely in the past. Reparations and recognition are dismissed as unrealistic. Immigration narratives tell black migrants and descendants that racism is minimal, even as discriminatory policing and employment barriers persist. And black European identity itself is minimized, framed as an imported issue, as though racism only arrived with migration. This erases local histories of slavery and colonial exploitation. Across continents, the mechanisms are strikingly similar. Denial, claiming racism no longer exists. Deflection, shifting blame onto black communities themselves. Distortion, recasting demands for justice as threats to democracy. Silencing, labeling protests as irrational, violent, or unpatriotic. The consequences are devastating. Psychological harm through self-doubt, political stagnation that blocks reform, and cultural erosion that undermines black identity and history. Political gaslighting of black people is not confined to one nation. It is a global strategy of denial and manipulation that sustains racial hierarchies. Recognizing it is the first step toward dismantling its power. Justice demands are not irrational. They are the heartbeat of equality.